Briefing for Wednesday, the 19th of April. And unlike yesterday, I do actually know it's April. That's not bad going. I'm Stephen Ridgway, by the way. So let me see what's been happening. UK and the US warn of attacks against Cisco routers. So in the UK, the NCSC has released a statement. But the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and the NSA and the FBI in the States have also released a parallel statement about this. APT 28, which is a state-sponsored Russian, probably not state-sponsored, are they? They're state-owned, really, aren't they? They're a state hacking group. I know them as Fancy Bear, but they've got various other names. They are linked to, as in they are part of, I'm sure, allegedly, haha, whatever, Russia's General Staff Main Intelligence Directorate, GRU. They have started to attack Cisco devices. However, they're using, it comes back to something we've been talking about a lot over the last few briefings, reuse of old vulnerabilities. So, I mean, there are two particular vulnerabilities that this attack on Cisco kit is making use of. And the first one is actually not really a vulnerability as much as just a misconfiguration. So if they will attack the router using SNMP, if you have default or easily guessed SNMP credentials, you will be subject to this particular exploit. It isn't really an exploit, it's just getting the router to do what the router is meant to do. If you give it SNMP commands via SNMP, it'll do them if you're authenticated. So, by the way, the mitigation to that one is please use SNMP v3, or if there's been anything since I last looked at this that makes anything beyond that, do that, because and definitely have actual authentication, not just do you know the community string. SNMP v2 community string stuff, it's sent in clear text. It's basically from an age where the ability to make a router do something remotely by sending it commands rather than having to go and walk up to it with a console cable and plug in was a really cool thing. So, welcome to the 1970s or whatever. So yeah, if you're not using SNMP to manage your routers or to pull performance capacity, whatever stats from them, switch it off. Okay. The other vulnerability is now probably something like 6 years old. CVE 2017 6742. So if you haven't patched your Cisco routers, I would very strongly recommend that you do. And I do know, I have worked in environments where people avoid touching routers. The Cisco stuff, if it's working, don't touch it, it might break. Well, yes, okay, there is some argument for that. But the other argument is if you don't patch it, somebody else will break it for you. So I think the days of major organizations releasing patches that have only had half-assed testing are mostly behind us. Not completely, and things do sneak through, but generally, the days of you patch something and everything grinds to a halt, that's 10 or 15 years ago now. So it's difficult to argue that you've got a genuine reason for not patching, keeping things up to date. If, by the way, you're running equipment which is no longer in support and can't get security updates, I think you should take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself whether that really is a good way of saving money. Yeah. Watch out. watch out, Fancy Bear are attacking routers. Once they've got on the router, of course, they've got the visibility of the whole network and blah blah blah. It's a great way in to see what's going on. So yeah, keep on top of that one. In other things, McAfee's mobile research team have identified at least 60 malicious apps on Google's Play Store that are delivering a malware called Golderson. It happens, we know that Play stores or app stores or whatever are not perfect. Looks like this particular lot is mostly targeted at people in South Korea. However, the apps are on the Play stores, so watch out for those. And they've also got something in the region of 100 million downloads, according to the article from HackRead. Anything with 100 million downloads is, that's a little bit worrying. So, what can it do? Well, this particular piece of malware can collect data from apps installed on the device. It can also collect data from connected Bluetooth and Wi-Fi devices, track users' locations, carries out ad fraud by clicking on ads in the background without alerting the user. Data collection relies on permissions, however, being given to the infected app when it's being installed. So, and that is a good point. Most modern mobile operating systems do flag up something that says this app would like to exfiltrate your entire life. Or, well, they don't really, but this app would like access to, and then gives you a list of things. Actually, is worth reading that stuff. I appreciate that it probably depends to some extent on how accurately either the developers have described what access they need, or that the operating system can identify what access is needed. But it's certainly better to have a look at that rather than just click yes, yes, yes and install the thing because you want some widget or there's some latest game that you desperately need to have on your phone. So this stuff is out there. Watch out for it. The article here links to details of what the 60 or so applications are. If you have got any of those downloaded, I would suggest you delete them and you have your phone, scan your phone to see whether there's anything residual or nasty kicking around. And then finally from me today, one of my pet hates, as I'm sure regular listeners will have worked out by now, is effectively government or authority overreach. And it looks like there's yet another example of this. So Sussex and Surrey police forces made available phone recording software which had been approved for very specific circumstances. It was basically approved for use in hostage negotiations and other such very specific situations like that. They made the app, however, available to anybody in the force, and over 1,000 there were over 1,000 officers that downloaded the app. The app, once it's installed on their phones, and we're talking about work phones here, so we're not talking about the police using phones, whether people using their own phone for law enforcement. These are official phones, but this app was made officially available, so they downloaded it. It then records all the conversations on that phone. Now, the argument in defense of this was the police officers involved didn't know that the app was recording the conversations, and you can bet your life that the people who were like the other end of these phone calls wouldn't have known that the app was recording the phone calls, because unless you're told, you wouldn't know, would you? So I mean, whether you believe that anybody is stupid enough to download a voice recording or a phone call recording app and then claim they don't know that their phone calls are being recorded. I mean, that really, how stupid do you think we all are? However, the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, has been made aware of this and has effectively just given these two police forces a rap on the knuckles. They could have been fined, and I think there is a strong argument for that. However, if you think this through, if you think this through, one publicly funded body taking money from another publicly funded body will only mean that the organisation being fined has less money with which they can do their job. And really, I'm not sure that taking money away from law enforcement is necessarily a very clever idea. And equally, the whole thing's paid for by the public anyway. So it actually doesn't matter if you take give the two police forces £1 million fine. All that will happen is that your council tax will go up. So I think actually in this case, even though superficially it looks like the ICO missed a trick by not fining these forces, I don't really believe it would have made much difference overall if they had fined these police forces. And the approach of publicly pointing out that they've made a right hash of it is probably more likely to result in the right outcomes anyway. So there we are. If you've spoken to the police in Sussex or Surrey in the last, since 2016, then just be aware they have had at some point a recording. They claim that they've cleared all this stuff down, and only recordings with genuine evidence are now being retained, which I'm sure you could get them to confirm through a data subject access request or a subject access request, or whatever they're called, one of those. Anyway, that's enough of my rant. It is a shame to see that the police, who used to be well trusted and well respected in the UK and are really, really struggling, are making very fundamental mistakes in this space, as well as many, many other spaces as well. Such a shame. Anyway, look, that's enough. I am ranting. I'm going to stop ranting. So I hope you have a good Wednesday, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow morning.